For today's video, I'm doing something a little bit different. I think I've done this once before, but I am going to have, as you can see on the video, this will be like real-time footage of me taking product photos for my website and for Fair. And then the audio over top of this is just going to be more of like a podcast style conversation about some things that are currently going on and just my thoughts around, I guess it's this time of year. I'm still a young enough business that it's hard to know if this is how it will always feel, but I thought it might be helpful to just talk through some of the frustrations that I'm dealing with and really, I guess, just verbalize how I plan to get past like tough moments in the business or tough times of the year for a product-based business. And I'm not scripting this or really like outlining it very much, so prepare yourselves for what will probably be a probably like meandering conversation with myself. But I always like sort of hearing more behind the scenes from business owners who are just sharing more about the not as glamorous part of owning a business. And I thought that now might be a good time to share some of those moments from me. Just a little bit more background on what I'm doing right now for these product photos. When I was in my previous workspace, there was the one side of the studio was like a full brick wall. It was so beautiful. I really loved the way that it looked, and I took a lot of my product photos in like on a windowsill in one of the windows because it was really the only natural light that I got in the whole space. And so for a while, all of my product photos were cohesive because they were all taken from that same spot. So they all have the same background and the same sort of vibe. And then when I moved to this new space, obviously I no longer have access to that nook. I want all of my product photos to look as cohesive as possible. And for these are my existing candles, like the ones that are already available. And then I'm also photographing some holiday ones just to sort of get out ahead of that. All that entails is just like swapping out the dust cover on the left. So I'm not actually like pulling a real candle in each of these scents. I just swap out the dust cover. And then even for some of the candle tins you'll see later on, I just use a plain candle tin that was made. Like sometimes I just have like batches that don't go right or something, and I hold on to those candles. And then I just am relabeling that one candle tin because again, you can't smell the photo, so it doesn't really matter if it's the actual candle or not. But that's part of what's happening here is not only do I need these for my website, but because I am trying to be more active on Fair, I want really good quality photos for my profile on Fair. And I want to, again, make it look really cohesive. I think the more cohesive your product photos look, the more high-end your brand looks. And when you are marketing to most likely retail shop owners, you want to show that like these products photograph well and they look really nice and give them sort of an idea of how these products will look in their store with as nice of photos as possible. So it took me a really long time. This has been on my to-do list forever. And that's, I guess, I'll talk about that first because that's something I've really been struggling with lately is that I really go in ebbs and flows of how successful I am at tackling my to-do list. Sometimes I'll find a rhythm where I plan out different tasks for different days of the week and I really stay on top of it and I feel super productive and I feel like I'm getting done when I need to get done. And then there will be other times where a task will stay on my to-do list for an embarrassingly long amount of time, like much longer than it should take to get it done. I mean, sometimes it's even just an email and I cannot make myself send it. And I know that some of this is ADHD related. I know that some of this is just burnout, which anybody can experience, I think, especially small business owners. So I am definitely in one of those down moments right now where I feel like I cannot seem to get things done. This task, especially, is something that is very clearly holding me back from making money because it is preventing me from listing products on Fair that I could sell to people. Obviously, just listing it on Fair does not guarantee a sale, but it certainly guarantees that I won't sell any of these larger candles if they're not even available to people to buy. And that's why I have a really hard time not getting down on myself about falling behind on these tasks, because when I'm stressed about the income of the business or the outflow of expenses, I get really mad at myself that I can't force myself to do these tasks that directly open up avenues of income for me. I don't know what miracle got me in the groove to do this today. Part of it was, what happens is that the task that I need to do, so this one, for example, is I need to take these product photos. That's the big task. But there are so many other smaller things, some of which I don't even realize when I write that task down. Smaller things that need to happen before I can take these product photos. So a very simple one is that all of these different dust covers, I need to print off a dust cover for every candle that needs to be photographed. And again, that's not that big of a deal, but I've recently slightly redesigned my dust covers. And so the holiday candles, I did not even have the new design for them. It's like, it's not just that I need to photograph these products, it's that I need to print new dust covers. It's not that I just need to print new dust covers, it's that I need to design new dust covers. And then once I design those, I have to like make the separate files, and I have to make the Cricut canvas, and I just get really overwhelmed and spiral. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it was about today, but of course it's like a Friday afternoon and we were heading out of town at 4:00 today. So I swear it always happens that you like hit your groove at a really inconvenient time, but that was sort of the case here. And I just wanted to get as much done as possible. Aside from just these product photos, there are definitely other things that I feel like I'm just really struggling to tackle, and I can't seem to find like the perfect workflow that allows me to really hone in and focus. And I feel like it's been a little bit that way for this whole month. We're like midway through September right now, and my kids started school the first week of September, and I just feel like that as much as like I'm excited to have that routine back of, they go to school at the same time every day, I don't have to worry about what camp or what activity we're going to do, but I still think these transition times are super hard for me. That whether it's a small moment of transition, like transitioning from dropping the kids off to getting into my work mindset, those I struggle with, but they're at least short term. But then I think there are like bigger life transitions, like like I said, the kids starting school, where my adaptation to that transition takes a really long time. And I think that it's manifesting for me right now as not being able to feel like I'm getting like solid focused work done. So I've got all of these tasks that feel like I'm sort of buried under them, and breaking them down into smaller things is the best way to do that. But sometimes I don't even feel like I have the mental clarity to like do that much. So I would say that that's something that's really stressing me out right now, because I want to get in a good place before the real rush of holiday season starts, which essentially is like late October, I think. Like in terms of stores that want to be buying products to have on the shelves for Christmas shopping, I think that, mid to late October is where that stuff comes in. But even now, we're definitely in the start of candle season. I'm already seeing it pick up a little bit, and I wish that I could like wave a magic wand and not be struggling with these focus issues. And the other thing that I think is, it's hard to know like what causes any one, area of struggle, but I have had there's, moments in time with your business where it just seems like nothing is going the way that you expect it to, or you hope for it to, or you planned on it going. And it just sort of feels like one hit after another. And that is also what the beginning of this month has been for me. I feel like some of the things are very much out of my control, and there's nothing I can do about that. And then other things feel like more of a gray area where maybe if I had put more effort into something or done more research, that maybe that would have turned out better. Even the launch of my fall products has just not been super successful thus far. Like, I launched these fall products on September 11th, which was a Monday. I sent out an email to my subscribers, and then I also posted about it on social media. I'm sure I did not do as much as I could have, but I teased it the week before also. And I just did not really get many sales at all. Like, I did have like a wholesale order. But in terms of just like direct to customer sales, there just really haven't been hardly any. That's such a bummer because the whole, the beginning of the year is slow, and then summer is pretty slow, which I know is sort of a universal retail experience, that like you're just not, some of these months are just like not great for sales just based on how people shop throughout the year. But I was getting so excited for September because I felt like fall and holiday are when I really make up a lot of those sales. And to have a launch just not go very well, it was upsetting and is stressful because I have an employee now, and that employee is hoping for more hours, which is totally fair. And I wish that I could have her here all the time. She's so great. But if I'm not selling products, at some point, I just sort of stall on my ability to have more tasks for her to work on and therefore add more hours. I'm worried about that and the responsibility I feel to her and this role that I've created and hired her on for. Another thing is that there is a big holiday market here in Milwaukee, and I did it last year, and it was my best sales day of the entire year. So it was the most money I made in a single day the whole year. And I reapplied this year, pretty much the same application I did last year. And I just got the email last week that I was not chosen to be a vendor at the event, which really caught me off guard. I was sort of just expecting to get in. I know it's a juried event, but having already gotten in last year, it felt surprising to me that I would not get chosen again. And there wasn't much of an explanation in the email. It was clearly just like a bulk email that they sent out to everyone. It said that they had 4 times as many applicants as they can actually bring to the event. And I guess maybe they just want to change up who they have there, but that I felt super defeated by that. It's not just the sort of validation, or I guess invalidation, of not getting picked. It's the fact that now I feel like, okay, how the hell am I going to make up those sales? That was a sales day I was depending on, and now I won't have that. And it just sort of, it's like a lot of little things like that feel like this is when I start to question my success as a business owner, that it sort of feels like, am I cut out for this? Do I not have the right outlook on business? I definitely don't have a hustle mentality. I'm not someone, like I said, I get burned out and overwhelmed really easily. So this idea of just like working harder until you achieve what you want, it's just not something that is sustainable for me and my personality and my brain chemistry. And so that's always bothered me too, is feeling like the evidence I see from some of these like online personalities that give business advice is just, well, you simply have to work harder, and it's the people who don't give up that succeed. I want to be able to like embody that mindset and push myself, but I just know myself well enough at this point in my life that pushing too hard will result in the collapse of like my ability to live my life and like be a good mom and be a good wife and a good friend. There have been a few things very recently that have been a little bit better, or like things that have made me feel slightly better and made me feel like, okay, this was just like a little slump I had to get through. Some of those are that I got a message from a publication about featuring my products in something, like an article. And so that was really exciting because I had not pursued that. That was like something that just came my way. I'm not sure how this person heard about me, but that feels good. And then I have a new wholesale account with a local place here in Milwaukee, and it was a really great experience just dropping off their order. Everyone was so friendly. It's a lovely space. I'm really excited about it. And then it's a restaurant, and I went with my kids the next day because I had been meaning to try this place anyway, and seeing how cute it was, I was like, oh, we should go here for breakfast. And when I went in, my kids saw my products on display and got so excited. And that always like makes me want to cry when like seeing your kids recognize something that you're doing and thinking about how this must seem to them and what an example that this sets. And so then because my kids were freaking out about it, then a couple other people around were like, oh, are those your products? And everyone was so nice and just like very supportive. And I felt like that whole morning, that experience at the restaurant was like a guardian angel reaching out and trying to tell me like, you should not give up. Things will get better. You're just in like a rough time. And I was sort of hoping that's what would happen, that it's just a matter of sticking it out and staying the course, I guess. I saw a post from another business owner who also makes handmade products, and she was celebrating a milestone anniversary. I think it was like her 5-year anniversary of her business. And she was talking about how hard it is to keep a business going and how many businesses fail during these early years. And she used the term emotional endurance to describe what it takes to keep going as a small business owner. And that really resonated with me. Just the idea of, I felt like endurance was such a good word to describe the emotional process of starting something from nothing, especially when it's something that you make yourself and that is really at the mercy of the economy and spending habits from the people around you and things, again, that feel really out of your control. And that was really comforting to hear. I think that that's why I wanted to make a video sort of like this, is that having her talk about struggling through that. You see someone's milestone anniversary and you don't take the time to, you just think about the positives associated with that, and you don't really spend as much time wondering how hard that journey was. And for her to talk about that, especially at this specific moment in time, for me was really comforting. And so there's that. And I've also just been trying to take this time to try and reframe it as like, what am I supposed to learn from this time? Like, if I am struggling right now, what's the lesson? What's the shift in direction that needs to come out of this? And so I'm trying to read a few different books, business related books, and also just like mindset books, and watching speakers and YouTube videos and stuff like that around those topics, because I want to challenge myself to not so much just write off my inability to be a business owner, and more so look at this time and think like, okay, where are the blind spots in my knowledge about running a business? And this is what it seems to be like. What resources can I find to build up that knowledge and hopefully prevent some of these specific things from happening again? Obviously, like I said, some of this stuff is out of my control, but I think that finding materials that help support you to feel more confident in facing these challenges the next time is really the only way out of these feelings. And I've found some great ones. I'm currently reading The Pumpkin Plan, which is an interesting take on focusing your energies on the most. I would say the advice is more applicable to a service-based business than a product-based business, even though he uses product-based businesses for examples. He talks a lot about like choosing your best clients and firing the rest. Well, for me, I guess some of my wholesale accounts would count as clients, but I'm sort of looking at it more as revenue streams, like which ones are my most successful revenue streams, and not simply in the amount of dollars that they make me, but also in the workflow required to execute them. So for me, wholesale sales, although I don't make as much per item on the products that I sell, the process and workflow of a wholesale order is much simpler than like an online order, because right now I've got Fair set up, which I've mentioned, and the way that that's all organized is very straightforward. I think that though when a wholesale order comes through, it's easy for me to make products specifically for that order, which means that the production that I'm doing or that I'm paying my employee to do is something that has already been paid for. It's not me making a bunch of candles for fall and hoping that I sell all of them, or making candles for summer and hoping that I sell all of them, and then, being frustrated when there's leftovers that I can't do anything with. It has helped me think to myself, how can I spend more energy on growing the wholesale side of this business? And obviously I'll be keeping the online shop open, and like when people order from the online shop, that's great, and I love sending out those orders too. But in terms of like what feels the most sustainable for like intentionally growing the business, wholesale definitely is an important focus for me right now. And it's also having me rethink the idea of opening for retail hours. I was sort of set on that for a while and thinking that that was like an obvious next move. And now I'm not as sure that that makes sense, because at least in the beginning, I'm going to want to be present for most of those days that the shop is open, which is a real drain on my time. And another thing that I love in this book that he says is that the way he sort of defines an entrepreneur is not necessarily someone who has like an in-depth role in the day-to-day execution of the business. It's someone who sees opportunities and creates the systems to execute on those opportunities, and then has other people do the execution, which again is like easier said than done. You need capital to like pay people to do things before you're making money on it. And I don't feel capable of like hiring people to do every aspect of this business at this point. But I thought that that was a good way to sort of reframe business. I've already now taken a step back from production because I have this employee, and I will say I feel much more energized about the business since I've done that. And I think that finding more of those elements of the business where I can say, this is how I do it. Here's the process for how I do social media posts or newsletters or outreach to wholesale customers, and then be able to train someone else to do it. That's really, to me, that's the end game here, is like creating something and having put in all the effort to create this business and all of the elements of this business that make it good, and then being able to like give myself some space and some time to do what I do best, which I think is like understanding and predicting, hopefully, what to do next. And I don't always feel like that's what I'm best at, because like like the beginning of this month and feeling like maybe I'm not good at that. I have to have faith in the fact that that's why the business has even gotten as far as it has thus at this point, is because I clearly have some sort of instinct, whatever it is, for products that look a certain way, and a collection that, and the fragrances that I choose, and all of those things I still want to do. But he makes another point about, if you cannot be absent from the business for 4 weeks without it falling apart, then you are not an entrepreneur. And that was, whether or not I care, I don't really care about whether or not I can call myself an entrepreneur, but I really liked the idea of setting the business up to be able to run without me every single day. At this point, I have to be working on this business every day for it to keep moving forward at the pace that I need it to move. And if I could get to a point where that's not the case, or I'm only spending an hour on it every day, it would just be such a game changer. And it feels like such a dream. And maybe it is, who knows, maybe it's too far off from what I would actually be able to accomplish, but I at least want to be moving in that direction. So I'm trying to focus my energies on things that feel the most sustainable. And right now that's more wholesale than it is retail. And then we'll see what I can expand on from there. So yeah, I guess that sort of sums up just the moment in time that I'm in right now that I wanted to share. We're definitely in like roller coaster mode this month, which was not what I expected. I love this time of year just as a person, on a personal level. I think September and October are the best months of the year, and I don't want to feel this way. And I thought that maybe talking about it would sort of help. And I think that it has, and has also just, I don't know, helped me remember what's important and what is doable, and that just because I'm having a tough stretch does not mean that it will be like this forever. It probably won't even be like this by the end of the month, but it is a hard mindset to shake yourself out of when things are really just like beating you up left and right. And so I am thrilled to have these product photos done. I will say that was a very successful little afternoon that I had that you've been watching. And now I just need to edit the photos and get them posted on the website and on Fair, and hopefully use them for some social media stuff too. But I'm so glad this is off my to-do list. And yeah, I guess I'm just going to keep trying to put one foot in front of the other. Just all the cliches of like not letting this get me down. I appreciate you listening. If you're still around, thanks for listening this far. I am so grateful for this community that I've been a part of on YouTube, and the comments that you guys all share. And I read every single one, even if I don't get to responding. I appreciate them, and I appreciate you all. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.